they reviewed your phone calls and your messages on your tablets, and they say that you were reaching out to ranking members, multiple, of the Bloods and speaking to them. I find it very difficult to believe that with 6 people involved, no one knows who shot and killed this victim. No one has ever been held accountable or taken responsibility. Do you know today who killed the victim?
I don't know who today. I don't know who killed the victim today. And if I did, I would have let it be known, because if it was on the shoes on the other foot, I would want my family to have closure too.
Well, exactly. Just imagine how this family feels. They will never see justice for the murder of their loved one. That's sad. And it's concerning because you were a pretty tight-knit group. In fact, you were living with one of the co-defendants, right? And the murder weapon was found in the bedroom you were living in.
And we are about to watch the Act 23-169 parole hearing for a man who shows up being accused of actively being engaged with the Bloods. And that is not something that you want to be accused of at your parole hearing. Now, he was sentenced to 15 years for a robbery murder of a narcotics dealer, which, as you heard, they found the weapon in his room. He went to a jury trial. They tried to convict him for murder, and a jury found him not guilty of that and only guilty of the conspiracy to commit murder. So lucky for him, instead of a life sentence, he got 15 years. And as you heard, they still have not locked up the shooter himself. They still do not know who pulled the trigger. And this is just a strange hearing. The idea that he's been locked up so long, but has 3 SRT, which means gang-related write-ups, and here he is up for parole is quite mind-boggling to me. But hey, it's the state of Connecticut. Now, he does seem to have accomplished a lot, which makes this case a bit more confusing as well. He came into prison not knowing how to read or write, and now he can do both, and he's excelled in that sense. So I think this does bring a bit of a twist to the entire process. He's going to give a pretty long opening statement. I know in the past I have fast forwarded through these statements, but it is worthwhile to hear what he has to say. Maybe put it on 2x speed. And also, I've read the comments, and a lot of you prefer to leave it up to you versus me fast forwarding it. So I think I'll do that moving forward, unless you let me know otherwise. But anyways, I'll unpack it with more details at the end.
My name is Jayevon Bland, MA number 354564.
This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Blaine, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time.
No, I have no questions.
Again, this is a public hearing. Do you have any questions, and are you willing to proceed at this time?
No.
Just say yes.
Yes.
This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Jayevon Blaine, who was serving 20 years, executed suspended after serving 15 years, followed by 5 years probation for conspiracy to commit robbery first with a deadly weapon. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed armed services trauma group, good intentions, bad choices, emotional regulation, coping skills, anger management. He's received individual therapy. He has completed Start Now modules 1 through 4. He has completed the SRG program, target group, voices, tier 1, tier 4, alternatives to violence, basic and advanced, dual recovery, beyond fear, parenting, employment readiness, and co-occurring disorders. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Blaine, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Good morning. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you today. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Jayevon Blaine, and I have been incarcerated for 15 and a half years of my life. I want to start off by apologizing to the families I hurt, the victim's family, the people in my community, and my family. On September 6th, it was a Labor Day weekend. I woke up, it was just a regular day. I went to the Greens Housing Projects. I came back to my friend DeAndre's house. His friends was there. We were all sitting on the porch and we talked about how they had just bought weed off the weed man and how we could rob him. We talked about the robbery for almost an hour. And I told them I would meet up with them later. Me and another friend went to PT to handle other things. I was involved in all types of senseless politics at the time. I was a menace with no bright future, and everyone knew it. I wasn't there that night for the robbery, but I do know Kevin Sula lost his life that night because a bunch of senseless teens had nothing better to do than plan a robbery for a couple bags of weed. And I was part of that. I could have tried to stop what happened to them, what happened then, and I could have saved a man's life. I know that no sorry or apology can bring him back, but I am deeply sorry for the part I played in that crime and that a man died for no reason at all. I also want to apologize to my family for the pain I caused them over the years and the blame I put on them for my own actions. I blame everyone else for the way my life turned out when I should have taken accountability. When I went to prison, I learned how much pain I had caused them because I found out what a relief it was for them that they knew where I was. My mother and grandmother could sleep better at night because they knew that I could not get hurt or hurt someone else. I caused my family fear, shame, and heartaches, and I missed my siblings growing up. When my son was 12, I spoke to him on the phone and he told me he wanted me to come home and do better, and that shattered me. I also want to apologize to him for not being there for him and his mother. When I came to prison, I was 17 years old. At the time, if you were to ask me who I was or where I was going, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. I was resentful and depressed. I was mad at the world. I felt like I had nobody and nothing. I was alone. I always said that my mother gave birth to me, but the streets raised me. I was gang banging hard. I was selling drugs, carrying guns. My grandmother didn't like what I was involved in, but the reality is that back then, nothing was going to get me off the streets. Not her, not my mother, not anyone. It was going to be jail or death. In the beginning of my sentence, I just wanted to do my time. I was still taking shortcuts, making bad choices, and hanging around the wrong people. The people I grew up with in my neighborhood did time with me. They were in and out of prison. I was in a cell with someone I grew up with. To be honest, things were not much different for me. My mind was still in the same spot as when I came in. Things didn't really change for me until I left NYI. And I was around older gentlemen. These men pushed me to do better and told me I still had life ahead of me. I still had plenty of intersections where I wasn't sure which way to go. But as time went on, I learned. In 2016, I went to SAG for 7 days. At that time, I had enough. It was really the first time in years that I had peace of mind. Freedom from distractions and time to think. I told myself that I had to change. I found my faith, and after that, I had to cut a lot of people out of my life who were no good for me. People who had supported me financially in prison, cousins, family, friends. It really hurt me to do this because they felt like my family, but most of them have their own agendas, and it's the same street politics. I realized that if I was going to better myself, I had to put myself first and acknowledge my own flaws and move forward. I have been in jail 15 and a half years. The people that I kept company with are either dead or they are on the same corner selling drugs, using drugs, or committing the same crimes they committed 15 years ago. it makes me sad because it makes me realize that when I had my freedom, I was once doing the same thing. And I realized that there's much more to life than that. The things that impressed me when I was young no longer interest me. In the neighborhood where I come from, it's easy to live a negative life. The people you think who are getting ahead in life, selling drugs, committing crimes, that doesn't take work. Being positive and changing your life does. It takes extraordinary work. I put myself in programs. I probably done well over a dozen. I did programs I didn't have to do. The biggest thing I really learned from these programs was how to ask for help. When I was a kid, I never knew how to do that. I didn't even know how to spell my name. I was embarrassed to say things out loud because I might use the wrong word. I paid people in prison to read my letters for me. I was ashamed that I didn't know what others said to me. I was ashamed that I didn't know what others said to me because I didn't understand certain words they used. I used the same phrase when I talked to people. That's crazy because usually people believe that I understand what they were talking about. Things changed for me when I learned how to read. My study taught me how to read. I started going to school every day. I learned social studies, science, all the things I couldn't learn and didn't take serious when I was home. I learned how to hold a conversation with someone about things going on in the world, conversations I would have had to walk away from before due to my lack of knowledge and understanding. I also learned how much I love to work. I worked in the kitchen, I've been a prep cook, I worked in the warehouse, I cleaned the floors, I worked in the laundry. If work started at 5, I will be there at 4:30. Work keeps my brain active. I have ADHD, so I can't play a video game for very long or play cards because I lose interest fast. But work helps me stay focused, and writing helps me too. It relaxes me. If you grant me parole, I would like to go to a halfway house in the North London area. It's a new environment for me and an opportunity to start fresh and have positive relationships with people. I want to do whatever programming is available to me. I also have a good relationship now with my mother and brothers and sisters who are workers and have jobs and are productive people. If I continue to take the initiative and ask for help, I'm going to be okay. I want to show my son and my family that I can overcome any obstacles and move forward with a positive life. Thank you for this chance.
Okay, Mr. Blaine, thank you for your statement. So this panel has reviewed your case thoroughly. We have our records from the police report, the time of the offense, and court proceedings, your PSI, all of your institutional records with the Department of Correction. In addition, Attorney Barber submitted a packet on your behalf that we've reviewed. I think we did get some late stuff yesterday, so hopefully my panel members had the opportunity to read that. We'd ask that you not submit anything after maybe a week or two before the hearing. So we're very well versed in your case, sir. We do have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll turn to the Office of Victim Services for any input that they may have. And then the state's attorney and your attorney will have the opportunity to speak. Okay?
Yes.
We'll begin our questioning with my colleague, Ms. Smith-Palmieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Blaine.
morning.
Very nice job on your opening statement. I appreciated all the detail that you put into that, and your candidness with discussing the offense. Because we did read that you denied being at the scene of the robbery, but
Yes.
you admit to being involved in the planning of the robbery.
Yes.
Okay. And when you say that you were involved in the planning of the robbery, where were you when the other men left, or the other young men left to go commit the robbery?
I had went somewhere with another friend. I was supposed to meet back up with him to tell you the truth to do the robbery, but I guess the time frame of I missed the time frame, and when I met back up, they was already gone.
So then why do you feel, if you were not there, why do you think you were implicated in the robbery?
Because I was already known. I was already a young teen known in my area for committing robberies and running around with guns, acting senseless.
And as a matter of fact, you were serving a sentence for robbery when you were arrested on this case. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the co-defendants were friends of yours?
No, I had met my co-defendants through my friend DeAndre.
You were friends with DeAndre, but you really didn't know the other boys.
No, I didn't know the other boys.
Have you? Yeah.
DeAndre, your stepbrother, half brother?
Nah, that's somebody I just grew up with.
Okay.
Yeah, I read that somewhere. Yeah. Thank you.
So tell me exactly what you take responsibility for.
I take responsibility for being a reckless teen my whole life. Like, I take responsibility for the fact that I indulged in the planning of a robbery that caused another teen his life for senseless behavior.
How do you think this offense affects the family? I heard you apologize to the victim's family. I heard you apologize to your family for the pain you've caused them. But what do you think this is like for the victim's family?
No words could explain what it's like for the victim's family, because they don't get a chance to see their son no more grow up. They don't get a chance to see their son have children and get married. So can no words explain, or can no words actually explain how the family feels?
Right. But here you are saying you were not there when the victim was killed. How do you think the family manages that?
Not well at all.
So, we are not necessarily here to retry the case. We do want to hear your, I guess, your version of it and what you believe to be your responsibility to the overall crime. So I do get a sense that we have that. You talked a lot about change and taking some time, and over the years, how you matured and grown. And in your opening statement, I heard you use the phrase, 1 second, politics. You were involved in senseless politics on the streets. What did you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that was the things that's going on in the streets, like the gang activity I was involved in, the crime stuff that I was involved in with other friends and stuff.
So what gang were you involved in the streets?
I was involved with the Stack Boys when I was on the streets.
The Stab Boys?
Stack Boys.
Okay. All right, and while we're on the topic of gangs, you have a number of disciplinary reports. And when we look at them, not that we condone them, but we can understand how, as a young guy, a young person newly incarcerated, that you have some troubles initially settling in, following the rules. But you have these two recent disciplinary reports in 2003 and 2004 for being involved with the Bloods, with the gang. And you admitted to both of those disciplinary reports. You pled guilty.
Yes.
And you're currently housed in, as a gang member. So how would you say that again?
Now I was about to say, I finished the program. I'm just waiting to get moved.
Okay, but technically you're still there.
Yes.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about why you re-engaged in that behavior?
I had certain family members that I was calling. I'm not gonna say a lie. Certain family that I was calling, they're still involved in that, and I learned that even though I love them, I can't love them the way I love them now. I gotta love them from a distance, because I see that still being involved with certain family members is gonna get me still put in certain gyms, stuff like that. So I take full responsibility for my actions with that, like that. I was in contact with a local gang member.
But they have you on the phone actually talking about gang activity.
Yeah, they had me on the phone talking about a fight that happened in my unit. I was telling somebody about a fight that happened in my unit, and they told me that's part of politics, SRG politics and stuff. And that's what I got the ticket for. Cause I got asked why we on lockdown. I said, yo, these dudes just jumped somebody, boom, 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 X, Y, and Z. And I got taken to SAG for SRG politics, talking about what was going on in the unit.
No, so you said in your opening statement that you had to let go of old friends, not be in contact, they weren't good for you. So, I find it hard to appreciate that you somehow got engaged in this with these family members, even though they're family members that you knew were known gang members. Do you have any sort of more you can add to that?
Like, I separate myself with certain people, but this is one family member that I ain't gonna like. He was coming to see me, and he been like they were helping my family my whole time incarcerated. And I realized now that, like I said before, I realized now that I gotta love him from a distance. Like I can't. I felt talking when I wasn't harming nobody, but in all actuality, dealing with him, I caused harm to myself by putting myself in a predicament where I had to do the game program and stuff. So now I took the initiative and I stepped back and stopped dealing with him due to the fact that I knew where it got me, and I no longer talk to that person.
Well, so if he's a family member, how will you manage that in the community?
By loving him from a distance, by not placing myself around him and keeping myself separated from him.
But are they going to be looking to you to support their activity, even if you're not a part of it, or to look the other way?
No, because I don't plan on being nowhere in the vicinity where that person stays or comes from.
You just finished phase 3 of the SRG program?
Phase 5.
Phase 5. Okay. How many phases of the SRG program have you completed?
All phase 5 of them.
Okay. And when did you complete all 5 of them? Over a period of time, or just most recently with these disciplinary reports?
Over a period of time. I completed the program in December.
So when you do these programs, what is it that you think you need to take away from them? What have you learned about gang activity and how it affects you and the community?
What I learned is that sometimes you think certain associates or family members is good for you, but they actually cause harm to you by getting you jammed up in certain things that you don't belong in. So I had to learn and tell myself that if I want to strive on the right path without taking any wrong turns, I had to distance myself from people, even though it might hurt me and that person. But I gotta do what's best for me and my son.
Well, I mean, that all sounds good, right? So what is your plan for that in the community? How will you follow that in the community? Because it'll be hard to be home and kind of be in that environment again, where people are expecting you to be the same person that went in.
Part of the reason why I feel I didn't only change my mind frame. I had to change people, places, and things too. So I changed the whole community I plan on going back to. I changed not going back to where I come from, because I know if I go back to where I come from, it might be easy to fall right back victim to the same stuff I was involved in. So I changed my whole surroundings and started dealing with people that come from positive places and dealing with people that's gonna help me.
All right, so we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes because I want to hear from you about your release plan. But you've done a lot of programs, and I heard you say more or less that you volunteered for many of the programs and you had to advocate for yourself and ask for help. So with all the programs, some were required, some you volunteered for. Tell me which one you think was the most important for you to complete.
Voices and alternative violence, ABP.
Did you do the basic and the advanced?
Yes.
Okay. And why do you think the alternative to violence program is a program that was right for you to complete?
Because it showed me it's more than life than it's told me it's more than life than what meets the eye. Like I learned that, like, besides violence, it was more than me. Like it showed me to open up to other people, and that's what really encouraged me to start asking for help when I had to do that 3-day program with people I didn't know at all. I had to get engaged with people that didn't know me, and it told me that violence doesn't only affect you, it doesn't only affect the community or the victim, it also affects your family and yourself too.
Okay. And did it give you some strategies for managing violent behavior or managing your feelings that might push you to act impulsively or threatening?
Yes.
And can you name a couple of ways in which you think a couple of tools or strategies that you might use or have used?
Well, it showed me that when I'm home, when I'm feeling doubt and hopeless, it showed me that I can always turn to somebody that's positive to ask for help. That's what really helped me, ask for help and tell them what I'm going through, that can help me guide myself back towards the right way before it's too late.
And since you've taken that program, which I have 2018, have you used those strategies or reach out to somebody to ask for help at the facilities?
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little?
I felt I was in a unit where there was a lot of mischief things going on, and I felt myself starting to flip. So I wrote to Counselor Cease Osborne in 2020 and asked her, can I volunteer and come to the Tier 4 program again, due to the fact that I felt I needed to be around positive and constructive people. And by going up there, it showed me, it got me back on the track before I could derail off, and helped me get myself going. I'm doing better things and positive things.
So Tier 4 was that place where you were able to re-regulate yourself.
Yes,
to make sure you were on the right track. And then you also mentioned the Voices program.
Yes.
What did you think about the Voices program?
That really was a wonderful program. It showed me the outcome on the victim from a different perspective. Like, what if my family member was a victim? What if my family member? How would I feel? How would I deal with it? It showed me the reverse role of now me being a victim of somebody doing something to my family.
So tell me about some of the feelings that the victims of these types of crimes might have.
Feeling hurt, feeling sad, and not knowing what to do.
So it sounds like you participated in the program and believe that you've gained some insight into what these crimes, whether, robberies, larcenies, all crimes, the effects they have on victims.
Yes.
What about the community? I mean, that's part of Voices too.
Yeah, the community.
What about the crimes on the community?
I learned that really about me, but the things I was doing, I thought I was just hurting other people, but I really hurting my entire community. So the things I was doing wasn't only, I created victims amongst my whole community, innocent people that didn't even have nothing to do with it, by creating chaos in my community where they felt like they couldn't come outside. Their kids can't play due to the shameless things I was doing as a teen. And Voices that showed me that, when the reverse role showed me that the things I was doing was chaotic and demonic.
I mean, you have a child, right?
Yes,
A child growing up in a community where there's violence all around them. It's unsafe, makes the child anxious, makes the parents feel anxious. And I'd like you to circle that back to what do you think gangs do to the community? What do you think the harm to the community that gangs are?
Gangs is harmful to the community. Gangs create chaos in the community, and they go around trying to recruit kids that feel like they have nobody in life. They do all the things that they wouldn't do.
What else?
They commit crime. They commit crime.
Crimes, violence.
Violent crimes, sell drugs. They poison the community.
A lot of gang members drop out of school. I mean,
That too.
you spoke about yourself.
They drop out of school. They don't listen to their parents. They put their own self at risk to be harmed.
So you can see our concern then with those 2 new disciplinary reports that you have.
Yes,
Because we are concerned about you being back in the community and being harmful to the community.
Yeah,
Do you think should we be concerned about that?
I would be concerned too, but I know that I took all the proper steps to remove myself now from them type of people that I kept the job the whole time in the gang unit. I didn't talk to counselors when I needed help. I didn't go to mental health when I needed help, and I stayed away from all the violent acts that was going on in the gang program to assure myself that I'm not part of it no more.
If that's a small community, how do you avoid all that? How's that possible?
But I avoided all of it by staying to myself.
You've done a couple other programs. You did anger management in 2016 and good intentions, bad choices. I always like to talk about good intentions, bad choices, because it's really about decision making. So can you tell me a little bit about good intentions, bad choices, and some of the strategies from that program that you think will help you in the community?
Well, I feel like good and bad choices helped me with, even though I thought I was making a good choice talking to somebody, it ended up being a bad decision. So now that really showed me that in the community, sometimes when I feel like somebody doing something good for me, it really could be harm. It really could bring harm to me. So it showed me that to really take time to think about my action before I decide to do something.
Right.
Or
To think through
don't
those.
somebody.
Okay. So you would need to think through the consequences of what you are deciding to do before you do it.
Yes.
And has that been helpful to you while you've been incarcerated?
Yes. It's extremely been helpful for me this last year, though.
Now you took that just before you had those 2 new disciplinary reports. So knowing what you know about that program, what maybe should you have done to avoid?
I should have never kept calling that person. And when I went to the program, it showed me if I wanted to get out this program and really change my life, I had to use them tools. So I had to think back to using those tools, and I had to stop calling that person. And then I had to stay away from the people that's in the unit that's going to cause harm to me, going back into old ways. So I use those tools to navigate myself through the program without getting in any fights, any disputes, and anything.
So let's think about being in the community. So you're in the community, and this is a family member that you said that you were calling,
Yes.
reaches out to you and wants to pick you up to give you a ride to a job interview. How do you think through that process?
All I have to tell him is that I'm good on that, and I ask him respectfully not to call my phone, or I would have to block him on my phone because I know that nothing good is gonna come out of it because he's not doing nothing good with himself.
And from what I know about gangs is they're very persistent, right? So you may block him from your phone, but he may show up outside your house.
I don't have plans on telling him where I'm living, and I don't have plans on being in the same community that he's in. And if he wasn't showing up at my house, I would have to do nothing but do the right thing, but I have to call the authorities because I know that if I don't, it could put me in a predicament that could land me back in prison and away from my son again.
So let's talk about your release. You want to release to a halfway house. And you think that would be a good start for you?
Yes,
Okay. And why?
because Highway House has the tools that I need to help me reintegrate into society, and plus I'm planning on going to a area that I'm not familiar with, that I don't know nobody, so I can get a fresh start and get great, excuse me, and gain the tools I need so I could be established. So when it's time for my son to come live with me.
Okay. I hear you use the word tools a couple of times. What tools do you think you need?
Like going to programming, AAA, NA, going to learning how to do a resume, learning more parenting classes, and other type of classes or that they have for me to ease myself back in the community.
So what do you need to be successful in the community?
But I need to be still in the community. I just need to have a strong mind, a good attitude, a job, and the right people. The right people around, be around the right people. That's gonna help me stay on the right path.
Tell me what you think will be some obstacles you'll have in the community.
At first, some obstacles I might have in the community. Finding a job, probably learning how to open a bank account. All the things that I took for granted in life, basically. Learning how to drive.
Anything else?
Staying from alcohol and drugs, and staying away from high-risk areas.
Those are all very valid things that you need to be aware of when you're in the community. Absolutely. You mentioned AA and NA. How about any kind of treatment? Do you think it might be helpful to do any type of mental health treatment?
I have plans on seeing mental health once a week and getting a regular counselor to talk to.
And I saw that you did some work with CCAR while you've been incarcerated. What's your involvement with them?
I finished CCAR because I have plans on taking up the DART program while I'm in the highway house to go get my become addiction counselor.
Is that your career path, to be an addictions counselor?
Yes.
Tell me what motivates you. What keeps you motivated?
My son doing the right thing and make myself, not only myself, but my family proud.
Okay, well, Mr. Blaine, I do not have any other questions. Thank you for answering all those.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Blaine, we're not here to retry your case, but I do want to go back to the actual offense because I find it very difficult to believe that with 6 people involved, no one knows who shot and killed this victim. No one has ever been held accountable or taken responsibility. Do you know today who killed the victim?
I don't know who today. I don't know who killed the victim today. And if I did, I would have let it be known, because if it was on the shoes on the other foot, I would want my family to have closure too.
Well, exactly. Just imagine how this family feels. They will never see justice for the murder of their loved one. That's sad. And it's concerning because you were a pretty tight-knit group. In fact, you were living with one of the co-defendants, right? And the murder weapon was found in the bedroom you were living in.
No, I wasn't living with none of the co-defendants.
Well, you were sleeping in the same room. Were you staying with somebody?
I was staying with somebody, but he wasn't the co-defendant.
Mr. Harper?
Yeah, he was never a co-defendant in the crime.
He is a co-defendant. He was part of the investigation.
He was never charged. I'm sorry, he was not one of the co-defendants in the case.
Whether he was charged or not, he was involved. His name is all over the reports. And wasn't the gun found in a room that you were both sleeping in?
Yes.
Was it your gun?
I played with guns before, but that wasn't my gun.
Say that again?
That wasn't my gun.
No, before, I didn't understand what you said before that.
I said I have guns in the past, yes, but that initial gun was not my gun.
Whose gun was it?
DeAndre Harper took responsibility for the gun.
Okay, so then he was involved, right? If it was his gun that was used to shoot and kill this person, then obviously he was involved. Anyway, you get my point. You all got charged with the robbery, and no one was charged with the murder. Very sad situation. Anyhow, you did receive the longest sentence because you chose to go to trial. If you take responsibility for the planning of the robbery, why did you choose to go to trial, sir?
Because I didn't have nothing. Because I wasn't there for the initial robbery or the murder. I didn't commit the murder.
Is that what you were being charged with? You were being charged with murder initially, and that's why you went to trial?
Yeah, we always being charged with murder initially. That's why we went to trial.
Okay, but you're the only one who went to trial, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So was there an offer before you went to trial?
No.
No plea agreement? No. Okay.
No.
So everyone else was allowed to plea down and take lesser sentences, but you weren't.
Yeah.
Okay.
To my knowledge, I really didn't know the court system like that at the time.
Yeah,
So
of course. Yeah, you were 17 years old. Yeah, understandably. I get it. I have similar concerns about your SRG tickets. Why did you plead guilty to these tickets and admit to being a member of the Bloods if you say you're not?
Because and the DOC, the DR hearing dude told me nobody never wins these tickets. And he told me if I lose, I was gonna lose all my sanctions, 90. So I just signed the tickets. I could get done, complete the program and get back to population to finish.
But you got those sanctions anyway.
I got on, but he only gave me like 30 and 30. He gave me the least sanctions. He told me I could give me the least sanctions, so he gave me 30. And I was trying to hurry up and get back to population so I could finish my schooling.
How many times have you completed the SRG program?
2 times. Once when I was a kid and now.
Yeah, once. I understand it was initially when you came in. How long was the program in total?
When I came in, I did 9 months or 6 months of it. And then now I did a year.
A year. Okay. So it's troubling to me that you would get an SRG ticket in October of 23, where, they reviewed your phone calls and your messages on your tablets. And they say that you were reaching out to ranking members, multiple of the Bloods and speaking to them.
There's
So,
only one. Oh, sorry.
okay. And then a few months later, 5 months later, you get a similar ticket. So if you knew, even if it's one, let's just say it's one, that's not what the report says, but let's just say it's one. If you knew that it was problematic for you to be speaking to them about the gang and recruiting people and whatever else you were talking about, why would you then repeat the behavior and speak to the same person 5 months later?
He was a family member. I didn't think I was doing nothing wrong. I wasn't recruiting nobody.
Well, but you signed the ticket, so you knew they thought you were doing something wrong, and you tell us today that you were talking to a known gang member.
I told him I was. I'm not gonna deny I was talking to a known gang member, but I wasn't talking about no gang activity. He was talking on the phone about certain things. I was just saying, yeah, I never recruited nobody. Nobody can say they was under the gun.
Are you saying it was the same person you spoke to in October of 23 and March? Was it March of 24?
Yes.
Was it March? Same person. What's the person's first name? What's the first name?
George.
What is it?
George?
Okay. So if they give you a ticket that you sign off on and read for speaking to George in October of 23, why would you do it again in March? They had already told you this is prohibited. It is against the rules. Why would you do it again in March?
When I called him in March, I was calling for some money and to see what and somebody in my family had died, like a cousin had died. So I was calling about that, and he asked me why I ain't called in a minute, and I was telling him why I called for it. I wasn't calling about nothing else. And I haven't. Then after I called that last ticket, I haven't called him since. I took the number off my list, no contact with him.
Right. I think you're missing my point. If you know you're not allowed to speak to known gang members, they tell you this and give you a ticket. I don't understand why you would do it again 5 months later, regardless of the reason. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's why you got another ticket.
Yes.
And why would the facility make up the fact that you're recruiting gang members?
I didn't recruit nobody.
I know. Why would they make that up? There's
'Cause he
you're
was-
quoted. There's quotes for the language that you used.
He was talking about recruiting somebody, and I was just listening. I didn't say nothing about me recruiting nobody at all.
Why would he have that conversation with you if he knew that you weren't a gang member?
Because he still believed that he still believed that I'm a gang member from the past. I don't gangbang at all.
All the more reason to immediately disassociate yourself. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm just being honest with you. And it really puts us in a very difficult situation. You've taken good programs, really good programs, but our concern is public safety, and gangs are very detrimental to public safety. You understand that? So you're asking us to believe you over the Department of Correction and take a chance and put a known active gang member back out into the community. Do you see the dilemma it creates for us?
Yes, but I'm not a known active gang member. I haven't been involved in no gang activities, no nothing. I finished the program with a bunch of gang members that's in there, and I've been working. I've been doing everything I've been supposed to be doing. I'm not a known gang member at all. And listen, when I was younger, yes, I admit, when I was younger, I did make a lot of mistakes and I was gang banging. But as of today, right now, 6 months ago, a year ago, I'm no longer gang banging, none of that stuff. I don't communicate with no gang members, no nothing.
I hear what you're saying. And the Department of Correction says differently. So in your interview, you made a comment, you were quoted as saying that you're still a work in progress. Tell us what that means.
I mean, I still hit bumps in the road. I still sometimes find myself a little lost, but I always get back on track when I start talking to certain positive people. But sometimes I do find myself slipping and I have to catch myself. I'm not perfect at all. I'm far from perfect.
Well, what would you call a slip?
Like I said, I talked to the wrong person, got jammed up, and it should have took me the first time, but it took me the second time to fix the problem. I fixed the problem, and I kept on going now, and I'm striving still to do. I'm still striving to do the right thing.
Okay. Is there school in the SRG unit?
Every on like an hour every other day. If you're over 22 years old.
Okay. Were you attending school while you're in the unit?
Yeah, I just passed my math test last week for my GED.
Okay. So did you get the results yet?
Now I'm waiting on them right now as we speak.
Have you taken any of the other portions?
Yeah, I took all the other portions already. The only thing I kept having a problem with was math.
Oh, math was the last section. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, it's very impressive that you learned how to read there. That couldn't have been easy. So congratulations. That's a huge feat, learning how to read. And it's only going to help you in the future. Regardless of what we do here today, you're done in 2 years. Which brings me to another question I had. You were earning rec time until 2023. What happened? Was it because of these tickets that you stopped earning?
Yeah, I just started earning it again though. I stopped. I just got my privileges back to earn my rec. I just finished the program.
Okay. So that actually cost you more time too.
Yeah, yes.
Because for a year and 5 months now, you couldn't earn those 4 days a month. Wow. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague now. Mr. Sadauskas, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My colleagues have asked most of the questions, sir, that I had. It was just one thing I want to talk about. Have you spoken to any of your co-defendants since you've been incarcerated? Have you seen them in jail?
No,
You have not seen any of those people involved in this initial robbery and murder
No.
since this happened? Okay,
no.
that's all I had, sir. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, we'll hear from the Office of Victim Services. Ms. DeJesus, thank you for joining us. Oh, is Ms. DeJesus with us?
Yes, I'm sorry. Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning.
I do have a statement and it reads as follows. Excuse me. I spoke with the victim's father and the following was relayed to me, quote, "He shot my son 5 times. He followed him around the car. When he was caught, he was incarcerated for similar charges. He is a criminal. I believe he should complete his sentence for the conspiracy to robbery as my son was killed. I am against any early release. He shouldn't have the privilege to be released to parole. While he's been in jail, he gets to live life while my son is in a grave. I firmly disagree to any early release as he has already received a lesser sentence than he deserves." End quote. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, the attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to the state's attorney. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, thank you very much. Once again, Jonathan Formicella for the Office of State's Attorney, for the Judicial District of Bridgeport. As always with these hearings, going after the victim and the victim's family is, it's always hard to listen to the pain in their voices if they speak, or the pain in the written statement like we just had, where there was a senseless act of violence that killed the victim in this case. And no parent, no family, no friend deserves to have to experience the pain of that loss. And that I don't think is lost on Mr. Blaine or anyone on the board or Mr. Blaine's attorney. But what I would say is Mr. Blaine has done a great deal during his period of incarceration to better himself, including the tremendous effort to learn how to read, and as he continues to try to finish his GED most recently. Mr. Blaine should be commended for that, should be commended for his very good work record, of which he provided numerous work reviews and performed very well in those reviews and completing not only his required programming, but additional programming to better himself. And Mr. Blaine should be very proud of that, and he should continue to try to better himself during whatever period of incarceration he will continue to have, as well as whatever his placement is after he completes his sentence. I think Mr. Blaine has exhibited a good plan for the future as it relates to removing himself from a community that would not have the best influence on him. And his decision to seek halfway house placement in a different community, I think would help him in the future, or at least that idea of removing himself from an area that he admits that he caused a lot of pain to, but also that other members that are still in that community that could be a bad influence on him, that he wants to remove himself from them. And I think that's a great thing. With that being said, there are some concerns that I would express to the Board of Pardons and Paroles as you consider your decision. As I believe all the members of the board made reference to, at least briefly, is that Mr. Blaine had received 2 recent tickets related to gang affiliation conversations over the phone with an individual named by the first name of George. And those were in March of 24 and October of 23, which are very recent in time, and now those are concerning to the state. That while, and it's almost surprising to the state given Mr. Blaine's acknowledgement that he shouldn't be part of that community anymore because it could help him. It would, being part of that community would, that Mr. Blaine did say that he no longer speaks to this George any longer, which is a good step. But those two recent tickets are concerning. And I don't know if Mr. Blaine's attorney could explain when she gives her statement, but that it involved getting money for family. I don't know if there was any additional information on that, but if the implication was that he was asking George for money for a family member, that's also concerning. But we probably just need more information related to that. I would also say that there is prior violent history that concerns the state a bit, including 5 fighting tickets. However, the most recent fighting ticket was in 2017, which was 8 years ago, and it was good of Mr. Blaine that he's taken programming, and the programming has helped him avoid that violent behavior while he's been incarcerated. But it is concerning that there is that history of it, including as he has gotten older. I believe he was in his mid-20s when he had his most recent fighting ticket. He does have the prior robbery conviction, include also assault 3rd, threatening 2nd, and pistol without permit while he was a useful offender. I would submit is also violent behavior that is concerning. I would also say that there had been a prior issue when he was younger with release, and then he has a violation of probation on his record, which again is concerning, but that was done a long time ago, and hopefully the programming that Mr. Blaine has taken will allow him to better reintegrate into the community. But again, prior unsuccessful reintegration into the community is a concern to the state. I would also say that Mr. Blaine apologizing to the community, the victim, and his family were very important, and that he takes responsibility for being involved in the planning of the robbery, but he does not take responsibility for the robbery itself, saying that he was not in fact there. What I would say about that is Mr. Blaine did pursue many challenges in post-conviction remedies to his conviction through the appellate court and under the criminal trial docket. He also filed 2 habeas petitions challenging his conviction. And so hopefully, attending Voices, Alternatives to Violence, and other programmings they completed tries to impress upon him about the damage that he's done to the community. I would just say with those post-conviction requests for relief would indicate a slight not taking responsibility for his actions. But hopefully, as Mr. Blaine has continued to complete programming, he's coming back to that. But I would say those would be some of the factors I would ask the board to consider in determining whether or not Mr. Blaine will be released earlier than his max release date. I again acknowledge that Mr. Blaine's max release date is, approximately 2 years from now. And so whether he gets out now or in 2 years from now or somewhere in between, Mr. Blaine does need to be able to reintegrate into the community well and address some of those more recent concerning behaviors regarding gang affiliation, which is incredibly difficult to separate from. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We will now turn it over to the public defender. Would you proceed?
Yes, thank you. I also want to thank the board for reviewing the materials that we submitted on Mr. Blaine's behalf, and for your weighing of the various factors today. I understand that this is a difficult case. This board has the very difficult task of balancing the need to hold young offenders like Mr. Blaine responsible and accountable for their criminal behavior undertaken when they're very young, and balancing that against their immaturity at the time of the offense and their capacity for change. I know that Mr. Blaine is very remorseful about his involvement in this case. And I think more so, I think he recognizes that it was part of a much larger problem than this one day and this one incident. Jayevon was involved in a very dangerous lifestyle when I met him. And as he put it, the world held two options for him, jail or death. But I would submit that he has made extraordinary changes while he's been here in prison. And as he just mentioned to me the other day, I mean, in many ways, prison has saved his life. I don't think that's an overstatement. I don't want to go through each of the 1584 factors because we did submit a lengthy memorandum, but I do want to highlight a few things that I do think are important. I think his correctional history, his efforts to overcome personal obstacles, specifically his illiteracy and his trouble with learning. And then also, I think it's important to acknowledge something we haven't talked about a lot here today, is that he's really rebuilt a relationship with his family, almost all of whom are very positive role models and who have continued to support him and will support him if he is released. In terms of his correctional history, I know that it pains no one more than Jayevon to be appearing here from the gang unit. I don't think it's a good reflection of who he is or what he's done in prison. I think it's very unfortunate. It's hard to talk about these issues. We all know that there are a lot of considerations that go into SRG affiliation. It can be very difficult for people like Jayevon when you have family members in the community, or if something happens within your family and you have continued contact. I think he recognizes that that was a serious mistake. And I think he recognizes that, he needs to continue to take steps not to be a part of that behavior. He has, I think what is also significant, though, is that even when he's gotten himself involved in this type of behavior, and he has been in the gang unit now for this period of time, you don't see any of the other standard indicators that he's a problematic inmate. He has not been involved in a lot of fights. He's been in prison for 15 years. He only has 14 tickets. Most of them are near the beginning of his incarceration. And he only has 2 tickets, I believe, for fighting as part of this sentence. And the last, as the state's attorney correctly noted, was in 2017, and that was nearly 8 years ago. So we see a lot of cases, in my experience here, in representing both defendants who are from this community. I represented Jayevon, representing them both at trial and then representing them here in front of the parole board. We obviously see a spectrum of behavior that is very different when they're 16 or 17 years old as compared to when they're 34 or 35 years old. The clients, when they're young, tend to be angry and volatile. I will say this, Jayevon was never angry and he was never volatile. He has always been a very patient person. He's been misguided. He certainly was not living a good life, but he was never angry and he wasn't violent and he wasn't aggressive. And he continues, I think, to show that now in terms of his period of incarceration. Overall, I think he's done a very good job of demonstrating his commitment to good behavior. In terms of the efforts to rehabilitate, what he has done here is really extraordinary. And whatever happens here today, I just want there to be a record of what he has done in prison and how he has succeeded, but also how the system has succeeded. Because this is somebody who came into prison and didn't even know how to read or write. And I think a lot of what happened to him when he was growing up, that alienation and that shame that he felt, all was just an offshoot of that. And it was very unfortunate that he went through the public school system without learning how to read or write. And I'm guilty of not acknowledging this myself. When we were on trial, I would write him notes during the course of the trial, and he would scrawl something in response, and I didn't even realize that he couldn't write. What he has to do to overcome this is something that I think is hard for us to understand. But Jayevon now, still, when he talks to his girlfriend on the phone, he has to write a sticky note in terms of the things he wants to remember to say because it's difficult for him to focus. So just for him to get through his day, he goes through extraordinary efforts to do the right thing and to stay focused. And I think he understands how important that structure is for him. I think the story that he told here today about contacting the counselor so that he could go back and do tier 4 because he recognized with being in an environment around people that are not moving forward is very difficult and can create problems. So I do want to just say that I think there should be a recognition here that he has engaged in programming and he really has rehabilitated himself. In terms of a successful reintegration into society, I think he has a realistic plan. He wants to go to a halfway house. He'd like to be in this area. He does not have any intention of going back to the Bridgeport community. His mother no longer lives in Bridgeport. She's in the New Haven area. In terms of how his priorities have changed, I think that what we're really seeing here is somebody who recognizes the flaws and the pitfalls of the community that he came from. And, you know, he talked today about how it was an easy lifestyle. And when he first told me that, I thought it was hard for me to reconcile that because nothing that he was involved in sounded easy to me. It sounded like it was chaotic and very difficult. But I think what he was trying to say is that it's easy to do the wrong thing. It's easy to go sell drugs. It's easy to get involved with the wrong people. What's been hard for him is to step away from that and be a productive person. And so the role models that he had when he was growing up, you know, the drug dealer with the flashy cars and clothes and women, he's completely changed the way he views his life. And now those role models are the productive and working people like his mother, like his sister, like his little brothers. I mean, these are people who work 1 or 2 jobs. They work at Whole Foods, they work with Amazon, they do nursing. So he has a lot of support in the community. And I think that's critical here. And just lastly, I would say that this has not been an easy incarceration for him. He has struggled with a lot of health issues while he's been incarcerated, and he's done a serious amount of time. And I know that we're not here to relitigate the case, but I would just say this. This was a jury of 12 people who were thoughtful, hardworking people who looked at this evidence for 8 days and then deliberated for 4 additional days and made the factual findings that they did, acquitting him of all of those charges. And I think that was appropriate based on the evidence that they heard. So I do apologize again to the victim's family because he does take ownership of his involvement with that group. But I think that in terms of the time he has served, it's substantial. And I'll just close by saying that, you know, Miller affords people like Mr. Blaine a meaningful opportunity to obtain release based on their maturity and rehabilitation. And Mr. Blaine is going to get out when he's still a young man. And I'm very confident that he is going to do the right thing. But I think he recognizes where he's made mistakes. And I think he's really invested himself in being a better and more productive person. So just thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Attorney Barber. Okay, at this time, Mr. Blaine, the panel is going to discuss your case and deliberation, and we will come back to you with our results shortly. Ms. Smith-Palmieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, you know, right off the bat, it would be a much easier case if we did not have the 2 most recent disciplinary reports. Because Mr. Blaine was 17 years old when he committed this offense. He's 33 years old now. We know the brain through science. We know all about brain development of young individuals who act impulsively and recklessly. And Mr. Blaine was a part of the worst type of behavior that our communities suffer from, which is gang involvement. They're known for their violence, their recklessness, and just how they wreak havoc on those innocent people that live in the communities. And I think I did get a sense from Mr. Blaine that he does understand the harm that gangs cause to young people through their recruitment, the crimes they commit, and he's a victim himself of not being educated, of being illiterate, which I'm sure is much to his involvement early on with the gangs. He served 15 and a half years, as he stated in his opening statement. He was incarcerated for a robbery conviction when they arrested him on these charges. He has done a number of positive programs, many of which he volunteered for. By my estimation, it was about 13 programs. We did not even ask him about the jobs that he's held at the facility. And currently, my notes indicate he's working in the laundry, and he has been going to school working on his GED. I am thrilled to hear that he was able to take the math portion of the test, and I'm hoping that he passes. That would be a great accomplishment coming back to the community. He has a lot of positive support in the community. There were letters submitted from family members and friends offering support and positive reinforcement when he is back in the community. I appreciated his candidness with his involvement with the gangs prior to coming in. While he was involved, he has done the SRG program twice. That is not a fly-by-night program. Most recently, he spent a year completing that program. We do have information that was confirmed by the parole officer that his packet for release from the SRG unit is pending signature. So that I see that as a positive. And, you know, his plan to be back in the community is a reasonable plan. Going to the halfway house will provide him with some necessary resources. For an individual like himself that was 17, he's been incarcerated since even before he was 17. Coming out now as a young man, a little bit older, more mature, he will need to face some obstacles. I think one will be, you know, just staying away from those family members that are still involved in gang activity in the community. And he'll have to find a job, continue his education. He does score on our risk assessment for moderate. I did note that he has addressed all the risk factors that were identified, which were, his age and criminal history, which won't change, but he has worked on his education. He's been employed at facilities. He has a plan for employment in the community. His social supports and his criminal attitudes, I think have, in my view, have been addressed through many of the programs that he's taken. I do think the fact that he is ready to release from the SRG program. I also get the sense that he's a work in progress. And I think at his age that he should be a work in progress because we can always better ourselves as we go through life. I'm encouraged to think that he is able to process the consequences of bad choices. I think these 2 disciplinary reports are prime examples of making bad choices and not looking to the consequences, regardless of how benign you think maybe a conversation is or not. So I'm inclined to grant in favor of discretionary parole today with all that said.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Smith-Palmieri, and I agree with much of what you said. I mean, it's very clear that Mr. Blaine is not the 17-year-old. He's not of the same mindset as he was when he helped plan this offense. And, you know, I believe in the jury trial process, and I do believe that that he's remorseful for his part for helping to plan. I think there was some peer pressure back then that he gave into and was part of certainly a very negative environment. I agree. He's done every program and more available to him with the Department of Correction. He's held multiple jobs, commissary, chairman in the warehouse, laundry, and had positive evaluations, excellent evaluations from the people who supervised him in the facility. I think he does have somewhat of a release plan. I think he is going to have challenges when he's released. But hopefully all of the programming that he's taken has prepared him for those challenges. For me, it really does all come down to these disciplinary reports. I mean, we know that he was part of a gang in his youth before coming in. He was part of a gang when he came in, actually. And I just can't wrap my mind around why one ticket wasn't enough. He's had 3 SRG tickets, but more importantly, the recent ones. I can't possibly understand why after getting one in 23, you would repeat the same behavior. And I could not in good conscience vote someone to parole from a gang unit. I understand he completed the program and he's waiting to get out, but the reality is they're very recent and he very recently completed that program. It's just not a risk that I'm willing to take at this time. So for that reason, my vote would be to deny parole here today. He's got 5 years of probation. I don't even know if he would be halfway house eligible with the SRG ticket recently clearing. Mr. Stauskas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I also just want to recognize, like both of you have the amount of programming that he's done.
Yeah.
And taken the initiative to learn to read from his cellmate. You know, it had to be an extraordinary set of circumstances to be in that position. And he's done a lot of work to advocate for himself and voluntarily take programs. He's done a lot of good stuff. I also come back to the two recent disciplinary reports. It's very hard. The tickets that he signed, that he pled guilty to, his signature are on it, is not what he's describing took place during his phone calls. It's you know, there's things in here that are not him listening to one relative's talk. There are quotes in here from him making these conversations. So I am also not in favor based on you know, his poor institutional adjustment for these tickets.
Okay, obviously poor institutional adjustment,
The nature of circumstances impact. to the
injury and
victim.
impact to the victim's family. Okay. All right, ready. In the matter of Jayevon Blaine, inmate number 354564, I'll make a motion to deny parole for the following reasons. Poor institutional adjustment, as evidenced by the disciplinary reports, the nature and circumstance of the incident offense, and the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This is a majority decision with board member Deborah Smith Palmieri dissenting. Okay, Mr. Blaine, we certainly can appreciate all that you've done and hope that you will continue to work on yourself. We wish you the best. Thank you to everyone for your participation.
Thank you.
This concludes the 1584 hearing for Jayevon Blaine, 35564. It is 10:17 a.m.
Denied. Who else is surprised that he was denied? But I mean, he made his bed and now he's got to sleep in it. 3 SRT tickets. How? I mean, he's talking to senior members of the Bloods gang. It just shows that, like, look, man, either you are involved with the gang, or if you're talking to them and asking for favors or something, they're gonna make sure that you pay them back, or you're just stupid. I mean, why would you be? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Now, I mean, it's like, and you heard he even he's lost 4 days per month of potential good time for the past year and a half. It's like you know the calls are going to be recorded. You're not. It's not like, oh, you got away with that. Then you get busted once, but then you get busted again, and then you get busted again. Like, you can't feel bad for him. And Frank, I'm surprised that he even got 1 grant who was it? Was it Zaccanini that granted? No, this is a pretty competent board. Yeah, Palmieri, Zaccanini, Azekis. I mean, Turner's tough too. She wasn't there. I don't want to say tough. I mean, for Connecticut, but and this is an interesting. I do not believe for 1 second that he does not know who pulled the trigger. Maybe it was him who pulled the trigger. I mean, a jury found him not guilty, so clearly that's what the jury felt. But it, it it took 3 years for the detectives to arrest them. So, it's not like they did it and then they were arrested and they all lawyered up. 3 years. That means people were talking. People would have known who pulled the trigger. You get what I'm saying? Now, I get it. He's in a tough spot. He's not gonna sing, while in prison, but it's and but look, I mean, this was he was 17 when we can go through the facts. I'll go through the information that Lady Holly has, but again, it's for it's impressive that the whole educating part and learning to read and write in prison, but it's like you throw it all away with the with just and it's like you want him to succeed, but but you go out there and you're gonna be involved with the Bloods. No, but am I missing something? Am I hearing you wrong? Well, let me go through the Lady Holly information. As you can see here, um, date of sentence is 2/21/2014, 15 years. So his full term date is June 17, 2027. So I mean, like, wasn't the end of the world that he got denied. It's not like he's got another 20 years. It's 2 more years. And the conspiracy to commit robbery is 2009, you see. And okay, so we'll go through. So Lady Holly, see, she pulls all the articles, and we'll go through the articles. It's appeals, um, where they found him not guilty of murder. Don't you just love how Lady Holly puts this all in a document like this? It seems he has complaints or even lawsuits against the prison, complaint on inhumane conditions in prison, sued the prison health system for inadequate treatment, another one against the prison. You can't it can't be good when you're suing a prison. Like, out of all the things that I think I'd want to do, to not do is to sue a prison that you are in. There's like no chance you're gonna win, right? We see this decently enough. Every once in a while you have an inmate that has something. And this was on 2020. It's not so long ago. And it's like, if you're suing the prison, think about this. Do you really, really think that the CEOs are not going to listen into your phone calls? I mean, they're going to do it anyways, but now you're giving them more reasons to do it. It's just so bizarre. All right, so co-defendant. I will just skip the fact today before we read this. In Indiana, it's illegal to ride a horse above 10 miles an hour. Again, with these crazy laws. Like, why? How is that possible? In an entire state, you can't gallop with your horse? And what are they using? Speed detectors on you? That doesn't even sound fast for a horse. That sounds like a trot. Ridiculous. Laws are ridiculous. So the defendant, Jayevon Blaine, appeals the judgment conviction rendered after a jury trial on conspiracy to commit robbery first degree. Evidence supporting the following facts presented to the jury on September 6, 2009 at approximately 9:35 p.m. Bridgeport police officer Paul Cicilla was dispatched to Breton Street in Bridgeport to respond to reports of gunshots and suspicious vehicle. Upon arrival, he observed the victim, later identified as Kevin Solar, lying on the back seat of a vehicle with his legs hanging out of an open door. He checked the victim for a pulse and determined he was deceased. He radioed for backup. Soon after the officers arrived at the scene, Cicilla and other officers were approached by Priscilla LeBoy. She was crying hysterically. LeBoy told Cicilla that the deceased person in the vehicle was her boyfriend. She told Cicilla that the victim had picked her up earlier in the day and that they met a friend of his. Three drove to a designated location where they parked and waited for another person. After they waited there for a couple of minutes, a black male, approximately 6 feet tall, wearing a black hoodie, approached their vehicle from across the street. The victim exited his vehicle and met the other man in the middle of the street. LeBoy overheard Solar, who sounded anxious, tell the other man that they had met each other at the man's baby mama's party. LeBoy told Cecilia that the other man then shot her boyfriend. Police investigators at the scene found a cell phone belonging to Robert Taylor, who had been a third person in the vehicle. An examination of the cell phone led the police to Jihad Clemens. The police questioned Clemens, who said that the defendant was the shooter. 2 days later, police executed a warrant for the arrest of the defendant on other charges. The defendant lived at the time with DeAndre Harper and Harper's younger brother and sister, Sean Harper and Antongia Petaway. Antongia. In the course of executing the warrant, the police found 2 guns under a mattress, which Harper and his brother slept on. The defendant slept in the same small bedroom on a different mattress. One of the guns, a 9mm handgun, was determined by a firearms expert to have fired the bullet recovered by the victim's body. So they find the murder weapon under their mattress, and the jury still doesn't find them guilty. No one guilty. But this is interesting. So they did arrest them a few days later. It looks like just 2 days later, but they didn't. But did they get? Let me see. Maybe I was wrong. Let's see. Further investigation led to the arrest of 4 people who, together with the defendant, were charged with inter alia conspiracy to commit robbery of the first degree. All 4 of the defendants, co-conspirators, Clemens, Craig, blah blah blah, who had known each other for several years, but had only recently been introduced to the defendant, testified for the state at the defendant's trial. The crux of their testimony, as it related to the charge of conspiracy, was that they and the defendant had entered into an agreement to rob Robert Taylor, the narcotics dealer. Clemens, who was the first of the conspirators to testify, he testified that on September 6, 2009, he and Wadle visited the friend of Baxter and Gardner and decided to buy some of the devil's lettuce. To that end, Gardner made a phone call to Taylor, a narcotics dealer with whom he was familiar. Gardner met Taylor a block or 2 from his house and completed the purchase. Clemens, Wadle, and Gardner smoked the devil's lettuce that they had purchased, and then Gardner left to attend his younger brother's football game. Shortly thereafter, Clemens and Whittle decided that they wanted more of the devil's lettuce, so they called Garner to Taylor's telephone number. Clemens then called Taylor, who met them at Garner's house and sold them more of the devil's lettuce. While Clemens and Whittle were smoking the newly purchased devil's lettuce, they walked to Palmer's house and discussed robbing Taylor. Lomax arrived at Palmer's house, and the 4 men discussed their plan to rob Taylor. Clemens, Whittle, and Lomax left Palmer's house, leaving Palmer behind, and drove Lomax's car, a white Honda, to Harper's house to ask Harper if he would like to be involved in their planned robbery of Taylor. They found Harper outside on his porch with his cousin, the defendant. Harper, the defendant, approached Lomax's vehicle where they discussed the robbery. Clemens, Whittle, and Lomax first asked Harper if he wanted to participate in the robbery, but Harper declined. They asked the defendant if he wanted to participate, and he agreed to do so. So it's like, from this perspective, it sounds like the defendant was the last one even brought in on this. Like, it wasn't even, I'm confused. Yeah. That's interesting, right? But let's go on. Let's go on and see. Because this doesn't make him seem like the ringleader at all. When they arrived at Palmer's house, the 5 men spent 45 minutes further discussing the plan to rob Taylor. They agreed that Clemens would call Taylor to set up a meeting and the defendant would rob him using a 9mm handgun. While Whittle stood nearby, Lomax would drive the vehicle to the place of the meeting and Palmer would stay in the car with Lomax. They agreed that they would steal Taylor's narcotics, car, and cell phone. I mean, they're going all out here. Wow. At some point after the dark, the men went to Taylor. Taylor had told Clemens that he was running late because he had a flat tire. Clemens parted company with the others to go home because he was late for his curfew. Meanwhile, as noted previously in the opinion, Taylor got a ride to a rendezvous with his friend Solar and so his girlfriend. There's so many people in here. Imagine a jury trying to keep track of this. Like, it's confusing. LeBoy, Solar parked at the agreed upon location, a person appeared Solar, and the person conversed because Solar had agreed to conclude the sale on Taylor's behalf. The other person then shot Solar. This is interesting. The other person? What? Okay. I'll keep reading because I don't know what's going on. Taylor ran from the scene and dropped his cell phone. Other shots were fired at Taylor. Clemens later called Harper to try to get in touch with the defendant. Clemens testified that he called Harper's phone and that the defendant answered. Clemens asked him what happened, and he said he killed one of them, and one of them tried to run, and I guess he shot them, and that was it. The defendant also admitted to Petaway that he shot someone, and Whittle, who had been in the vicinity of the shooting but was not immediately with the defendant at the time, told Alexa Palmer that the defendant had shot someone. So, I mean, according to this dot right, they did try to charge him with murder. So it seems everyone is saying, hey, he shot him, and the gun was found under his mattress. But hey, the jury found him not guilty of it, right? Let's go on. The defendant first claims that the evidence was insufficient to sustain his conviction of conspiracy to commit robbery in the first degree. We disagree. The two-part test that the court applies for reviewing sufficiency of evidence. So again, it's my understanding that he was charged with murder, and the jury found him a lesser charge of first-degree robbery. Um, um, it's let's see if there's any more information. No, they're just bringing up kind of like sightings as to why he could be guilty. Da, 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 da. I don't know if there's anything more in here. I don't know if I'm getting lost on this point, right? Let me see. Let me pause it and check another document. Okay, well, I mean, I went back to Lady Holly's docket. As you can see, she has document here, so the jury found him not guilty and then gave the article. So it's all here. I don't even need to look that hard. We'll go into the article, and you can see no solace for murder no solace for Solar's in murder case. And it says on Thursday afternoon, following a 3.5 day of deliberations, a Superior Court jury of 6 men and 6 women found that the alleged shooter, Jayevon Ugly Blaine, that's his nickname, what a nickname, not guilty of murder, not guilty of attempted first-degree murder, but guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree robbery. So the appeal, obviously was, I guess, only listing the and you love these web art sites with all these ads. It's just great. Everyone wants to read, news with shining, bumping things in your face. Okay, that didn't sound right. But so it's you don't know who killed him. It's people pointing the finger at him, and gun found under his mattress. But I guess he had a good attorney, or they couldn't prove it. That was interesting. I'll tell you, you never know what will happen in a jury trial. So he got a gift in a way. He's getting out in a few years, and I don't know, man. It's just strange. The whole gang SRT thing, to still be involved in that in some way while doing all this time and really over nothing. Like what like it's just like why? And he was 17 years old. So you're not thinking. It's just ridiculous, though. It's like, really? Well, I guess the one moral of the story that we learned today was not to ride a horse above 10 miles an hour in Indiana. At least we got that out of this. And with that, I'll let you go.
He shot my son 5 times. He followed him around the car. When he was caught, he was incarcerated for similar charges. He is a criminal. I believe he should complete his sentence for the conspiracy to robbery, as my son was killed. I am against any early release. He shouldn't have the privilege to be released to parole.